Australians are shouting it in the streets, in supermarket aisles and across back fences to neighbours. Just how the heck did a lettuce come to cost $10 or more? It's ridiculous. Sure, there are factors out of our control, like the war in Ukraine and COVID shutdowns, that have contributed to the dramatic cost of living increases we're experiencing. But when is it going to stop? Unfortunately, probably not anytime soon. So brace yourself, the latest inflation figure will be announced on Wednesday, and that will likely signal even more hard times ahead. Right now, for anyone who likes their healthy greens, this is manna from heaven. Lettuce, of all things, is on everyone's lips. With prices so high, icebergs can be upwards of $10 and other green leaves have doubled in price, it might seem lettuce farming is licensed to print money. Everywhere we look here, it's a sea of green. For people who want to buy lettuce at the moment, they might see it as a field of gold. Is that how you see it?
I see it as a lot of hard work by our staff to get it to a point where we've got something to be able to harvest after the weather we've been through.
Yeah, so you look at the blue skies and you say, thank God today.
Yeah. Get a run of 8 weeks of this would be great.
But much of this season, Ryan McLeod feels he's been farming mud. Like most primary producers along the eastern seaboard, he's been repeatedly hit by unprecedented rainfall and floods, heartbreakingly destroying crop after crop. For consumers, the lack of supply has seen prices skyrocket, while for farmers, thanks to increasing costs on wages, fuel and fertiliser, profits have evaporated. What sort of cost does that represent to you? What sort of loss?
It unfortunately is millions of dollars.
In the 20 years that you've taken over the family business and you've run it, has it ever been like this?
No, definitely not. It's coming from all directions.
Never this bad before?
No.
Never before has lettuce been such a topic of dinner conversation because never before, it seems, have we paid so much for it. Quite extraordinarily, this humble salad green has come to symbolise a time in our economy like no other. The perfect storm where some pretty major events, floods, pandemic and war, have all hit, and all at once.
I've never seen so much economic change in as short of a period in my entire lifetime, and not surprisingly, it's going to have ripple effects for quite some time to come.
The greatest effect right now is a rising sense of panic as the scary indicators of inflation and interest rates climb. After decades of economic prosperity, inflation is at its highest in nearly 20 years and is expected to peak close to 7%. Variable home loan interest rates are around 3.75% and rising each month, all culminating in a growing fear of a recession. And if we want to know how bad it will get, according to Professor Justin Wolfers, we should look to the US, where inflation has just been clocked at 9%. It's the topic on everyone's lips, the cost of living, and it seems to be giving everyone a headache right now. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, it's as true in Australia right now as it is in the US. In fact, in some sense, the US is a couple of months ahead on this script, and it's definitely causing a lot of headaches.
So if you guys are ahead, tell us the story. What are we facing?
Well, prices are going up.
Look at the pelican! The Fisher family, Josh and Emma, with 2.5-year-old Isabel and 7-month-old Mason, are feeling the squeeze at every turn.
Oh, always anxious because we don't know what's coming around the corner.
What's going to happen next month?
Right, so you're not seeing blue skies in the future at all?
Not anytime soon.
No.
I don't think, no.
No matter where you go, it feels like prices are going up from week to week.
Milk was around $2 and now it's $4.
including basics like milk and bread.
Bread has risen insanely.
Over the past 12 months, the Fishers' food bill has gone up by more than 60%.
And it's $218.20, just on the card, was it? And there we go. And would you like a brochure as well?
Yes, please.
There we are. Thank you. Have a good day.
So if you compare your regular shop a year ago to today, what's the price difference?
Probably about $100 different. More. $100 more.
And how does that feel for you and your budget?
Oh, it's heartbreaking. So when in your budget you've got a certain amount to each thing and all of a sudden you have to add another $100 to a food shop, like it's sort of like a whack in the face. Like,
yeah.
It's food. You need food. Like, yeah, for $100 extra for a food shop takes it away from something else.
It all adds up to never getting ahead of the game. An extra $120 a week at the petrol pump, another $80 a quarter each for gas and electricity means for this family there are no holiday plans, no movie nights, and now not even the daily takeaway coffee.
Every day before work we make our coffees in the morning from our coffee machine.
And have you worked out how much money you've saved?
It's like, what is it, $250 a month or something?
Yeah,
$250
a month, yeah. So, like, it's a lot of money. That's a food shop even, like, yeah. So just something small like that.
The pain so many of us are feeling is caused by factors out of our control in an economy that remains infected by our times. Economist Justin Wolfers calls it a pandemic economy, where a confluence of war and COVID is hitting our hip pocket.
The most obvious place you're going to see it is obviously petrol. That's all about Vladimir Putin right there, invading Ukraine, disrupting world energy markets. You're seeing rising price of food. Things can get stuck on ships. Ships can have trouble finding ports. Foreign factories can get shut down. And we've got lots of people trying to buy lots of stuff. But if it's not on the shelves, that's going to start to push the prices up.
Because the factors that you're talking about, we really can't do anything about. And we can't do anything about Putin. We can't do anything about those supply chains out of China.
So the RBA can't destroy Putin, can't fix supply chains, can't get rid of the virus in China. But what it can do is it can affect inflation. And so the fear is it'll realise I can't affect all these other things, but I'm still going to clobber the economy in order to take care of inflation.
Anyone with a mortgage will know the Reserve Bank's current response to our growing inflation rate is to aggressively increase interest rates, despite reassurances cheap money would be available until 2024. Do you think that's why a lot of people have been taken by surprise, or they're feeling the shock of everything kind of hitting at once because they felt reassured by the RBA saying 2024?
Yes. Yeah, I guarantee that. Everyone took the RBA's word thinking this isn't going to happen for a couple more years.
We have time, yeah.
But no, they jumped in before I think anybody expected it.
Josh and Emma Fisher feel like many homeowners, trampled by the Reserve Bank's attempt to get inflation down.
All the Reserve Bank can do, unfortunately, is they've got one tool that's increasing our interest rates. It sounds nearly crude, and it's nearly in dinosaur territory in some respects.
During this period, as the Reserve Bank tries its best with the economy, will many people lose their homes? Proud homeowners Josh and Emma Fisher have worked hard for their much-loved castle on the New South Wales Central Coast. And now they're preparing to work even harder to keep it. Emma has gone back to work earlier than planned after the birth of their second child. And 3 months ago, sensing changing fortunes, the couple moved their variable home loan interest rate to a fixed rate of 2.99 for 12 months. If they'd waited until now to fix their rate, they would be paying 5.14. The big question is, how much will the rates be in a year's time?
I suppose there's a little bit of internal hope that, you know, say in 12 months' time that the RBA is going to hopefully see the impact they've made on so many young people and young families like us.
Yeah.
That they're going to bring that fixed rate back down a little bit.
We have 12 months to figure out where we can find that extra money, what we can do, if it's working more hours or, figuring it out. We have that 12 months.
So the main priority for you is what? Not to lose the house?
Not to lose the house, yeah. Not to lose the house, keep our family home for our kids. That's why we bought a house. We wanted to buy a house for our family.
It's the fear driving so many, especially since, lulled by long-term low interest rates, many of us have taken on a lot of debt to buy our dream homes.
The general consensus is that in terms of mortgage pain, we will see mortgage pain for the next 2 years. The view is after that it's quite possible that rates might start to come off, come back to a more normalised rates. When inflation is doing what it's doing at the moment, in other words, it's going up, the people who bear the brunt of repairing the inflationary spike are people who borrowed money to buy, say, a house.
Mark Bouris has worked in the money and housing game for the past 40 years. But as former head of Wizard Home Loans and now the Yellow Brick Road, he's never seen such complicated and uncertain times. Is it time to panic?
I think it's been time to panic for quite a while. Now it's about building strategies and not panicking. And the strategies have to be about saving money in everything you do to make sure that you can continue to pay your mortgage if that's what you got.
It's what the RBA is banking on. To save their homes, borrowers will have to stop spending big on other things, ultimately bringing down prices, which in turn brings down the rate of inflation.
The net effect is borrowers who are probably already stretched, particularly those who borrowed in the last 2 or 3 years, are going to bear the brunt of this.
During this period, as the Reserve Bank tries its best with the economy, will many people lose their homes?
We are definitely going to see an uptick in people having to sell their property. I think we'll see an uptick in what they call defaults and arrears and delinquencies. But I don't expect it to be a great number because we've been through these processes before over the last 30, 40 years in Australia. So I don't expect anything outrageous to happen here in Australia. I don't think there's not going to be a bloodbath, no.
The ANZ Bank's senior economist, Felicity Emmett, also predicts plenty of pain and sacrifice ahead.
There'll be very significant increases in mortgage repayments. People will see increases in the order of 30% or so of their mortgage repayments. Now, it means that they will have to cut discretionary spending. They won't be able to go to as many restaurants. They won't be able to travel so much. People will have to cut back where they can, even though they've been assessed as being able to afford this mortgage.
But despite the dire warnings, consumers are proving resistant to cutting their spending because they're cashed up thanks to savings they built up during COVID. And demand for short supply, as well as the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, are keeping prices high.
We're also seeing generally spending holding up quite well. That suggests that people, while they might be feeling uncertain about the outlook, they have enough money in the bank to feel confident to spend.
And is that a good thing or a bad thing from an economic perspective? If we're trying to get inflation under control, do people need to be more careful? Do they need to be more scared?
I don't think it's helpful for people to be scared. I think people need to make decisions about their own finances. If everybody closes their wallet at the same time, we will have a hard landing.
So when you say a hard landing, do you mean a recession?
Yes, I do. And hopefully we can avoid a recession.
Recession is what has been forecast by some and feared by many. But Justin Wolfers, an Australian economist living and working in the US, feels less gloomy about the future.
I don't think there's any obvious reason to link what's happening right now, high inflation, with what economists call a recession. A recession is when the economy shrinks. There are fewer jobs, less spending, less production. None of those are our fear right now. In Australia, in the US, in most countries, output's rising, we're creating more jobs, and we're getting back to work. We do have a problem. The cost of living's rising in each of these countries, but that's a different phenomenon.
That phenomenon is the inflationary pressure brought by the temporary and idiosyncratic kinks of war and messed up supply chains, thanks to the ongoing impact of COVID.
So the good news is that for some of these things, let me give the example of cars, the price went up because the factories were closed. You open the factories, the price is going to actually not just stop rising, but come down. And I know that many people want to say, but the pandemic's behind us. But pandemic economics are not yet behind us. And so it's a totally different creature to understand.
The challenge for the Reserve Bank is to get the delicate balance of the economy right. When and how often to wield the hammer blow of interest rate hikes. Not enough and inflation could soar. Too much, and Justin warns the economy could crash.
Some people are worried about a recession because the higher cost of living and the rise in inflation is going to force the Reserve Bank to raise interest rates, do too much. That's a possibility, and they could cause a recession.
So is it too simple a message to say hold tight, that we will come out of a pandemic economy and that we will be okay?
I think it's exactly the right message. I say to your viewers, this too shall pass. The current inflationary moment is scary and it hurts many families' bottom lines, but it will pass because much of it is not caused by the usual economics of inflation, but the unusual moment that we're in.
Did you make all of that? From families to farmers, this is where the pain is already being felt. But while Bundaberg lettuce producers Ryan and Tahiri McLeod, with their sons Jack and Connor, are bracing for worse to come, they're not yet giving in. So how dark has it got for you this season?
Well, this last year has been the first time that I've questioned how much we can sustain and, you know, how much as a business, how much as a family we can continue doing this.
But do you think you can get through it?
We'll get through, absolutely. We don't quit.
Yeah, as Ryan walks out the door.
He's going to get the milk.
Yeah, getting the milk from Fremantle.
And it's the same for Josh and Emma Fisher, doing all they can to withstand the rising cost of living.
We will hang on as long as we can. Hopefully it's not going to send us into...
Too much hardship.
Yes.
We'll see where this roller coaster takes us.
Yeah. Work hard, continue working hard and just survive.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minutes, segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.